Hey everybody, this is Chad with QuadQuestions.com. Today is a very exciting day. I'm here to introduce to you the TBS Vendetta. It's finally here. Awesome. Here's our original initial unboxing. Alright, so I've got everything laid out here. These are all the parts that come with the TBS Vendetta. Here is the main body. It's got a very sturdy looking carbon frame. XT60 on the top. Got a Zero Zero camera built right in there in the front, ready to go. Got these neat 3-wire connectors for your ESCs to make connecting those super easy. Got some LED lights built into the back there. And of course there's a Powercube right there in the center to drive the whole thing. Basically it looks like you just need to attach these arms that come with it. These have Cobra motors already mounted on there. These are the 2204 2300s, so plenty of power there. Got some tubes here for your antenna wires, so you can mount those accordingly. I've got a TBS Triumph antenna. These things rock. I've personally been using these and had a lot of success with them. Looks like this thing just attaches directly onto the back here. You can curve it up, or you could get a 90-degree adapter there. We've got some mounts for some HD cameras. 3 smaller battery straps, 1 larger battery strap. We've got 2 full sets of tri-blade props and some extra parts and pieces along with some stickers here. Alright, so we have removed the inside out of this carbon fiber shell so we can see what's inside this thing. So it looks like we've got a Zero Zero camera up front, got a buzzer already installed, connected to this Powercube that's right here ready to go. XT60 ready to plug your battery source in. Looks like we have a Core Pro, probably race edition, built in right here, so your OSD's all ready to go. And then if you flip this over on the underside, we have a Unify Pro. We have a Unify Pro right underneath here. Got our connector, 3-wire servo connector for whatever receiver you choose to put on this thing. Today we're going to put the XSR on there. Moving backwards, we've got the connector for the Triumph, and then we've got LEDs already wired in there with connectors for 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of your ESCs. This thing is pretty lightweight. It's a plastic structure that's kind of holding it all together, but it does go inside this very tough, beefy carbon fiber shell. So I think that's going to hold it all nicely together, and I'm excited to take this thing out and test it out and fly it. All right, everybody. We are here at QuadQuestions.com. We're going to assemble a TBS Vendetta. I'm going to show you guys how easy this is to put together. All of your instructions are right here on the front. Number 1, it says slide out plastic tray, connect receiver to receiver cable. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Show you how to do that right here. There's 2 screws. You've got a hex right here. You've got one on the other side. So we want to loosen and take those out first. So there's 2 of these that need to be removed to get this front plate off so that we can slide the whole interior out. Those are very important. Don't lose those. This pops right off. Then gently can slide the entire inside out. So, we slide that out. If you look on the bottom, this is where the receiver connects right up here, like a receiver wire. But you can follow this down. On the bottom, goes to right here. So we've got a 3-wire servo plug that we will then connect straight into our X4R, which runs S-Bus. So this receiver is the one item that is not included with the Vendetta. You do need to purchase a receiver. The X4R SB works great because it already has a connector with a servo plug on it. So in other words, we're just going to connect right in to port 2, which is S-bus. So we're going to plug this 3-wire servo connector right into port 2 on the X4R SB with the negative towards the inside to run an S-bus connection direct. So we've got that wired in. Now, this says to strap down with tape, bind, and configure for clean flight. Alright everybody, so I fitted the X4R SB underneath here. We've got this 3-wire servo plug connected to the S-bus port, which is port 2 on that. And then what I've done is I've run these antennas around the outside in this little groove here, and then up through, there's a little hole. One goes right here, and one that goes right here. You can see I've run those up through those holes. Once those are through there, that's when we can then add these onto here along with some heat shrink so that that holds that all in place. But first, I'm going to put some tape on to hold this receiver in place. And I'm actually just using Scotch tape. They've used some sort of special tape here, but I want it to be a really thin piece of tape. So I think Scotch will work just fine just to hold this in place. So I'm going to just pop that right on there. Pull that up tight so that it holds it in place. So now our receiver is installed. We've got our wire antennas coming out the top where they're supposed to here. And now we're going to actually slide this whole thing back in the unit first before putting these antenna holders on. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to run these antennas kind of just out the back for right now so that they don't get pulled on anything. May need some tweezers just to do it right. There we go. So now this thing should slide right in. Make sure those are on the right sides there. You can see those coming out the top right there, just like we want them to. So this is slid back in there. Before I forget, let's put the front cover back on. Remember these two pieces, they're very important, don't lose those. Go right here on the sides. And folks, I have already bound this receiver to my radio. It's going to be tough to try to bind it after the fact since it's inside here. So I recommend binding your X4R SB or XSR or whatever receiver you're using. I recommend using a small receiver, so one of those two is probably your best bet. But definitely bind that to your radio ahead of time before installing it in there. Alright, so we've got this front plate reattached. Now, this thing came with a little bit of heat shrink, which I just took the little piece that came with it and cut it right in half, so we've got enough for each side. Slide that right down here. And then you pop it right over this little holder here. It's going to kind of hold it all in place at the right angle. This is my first time doing this, so bear with me, everybody. Got that one on there. You can see I've got the heat shrink all the way around, holding this nicely in place, right? Now we're going to go ahead and do this next one. And actually, before we do this next one, let's look to see how long this antenna is, because actually we can cut some of this off, which we could have done ahead of time. Because this is a model that we're going to sell, I'm not going to cut this. I'm going to leave it as is, but normally you could certainly shorten this so that it's not sticking up as high. So let's go ahead and slide this second one on here. Right down here. And just gotta kind of just work it. We're getting it. Cool. And then after you get this on here, you're then going to want to hit this with a heat gun to tighten that up, hold it firm in place. That is how you mount your receiver and your receiver antennas inside the TBS Vendetta. So next, we're going to install the arms and the motors. And as you can read right here, instruction number 2, there's only 3 steps on here. Number 2 is mount arms. It says plug in arms to maximize motor distance. Use 2mm hex driver to fasten arms with 3x9 screw. Cover with plastic and 2x9 screw. Plastic it's talking about are these pieces, which are going to go on the bottom here. And then we've got these smaller screws that actually are going to go right here in the middle after we've mounted these arms on, using 4 screws on the bottom side of each arm. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and open up these screws. Should have 8 of these, and we do. Then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to open up, package the arms and the motors, and get those bad boys installed on there. Let's rip this open. Remember, this is our instructions. We've only got one more on there, number 3. So we'll save this. Oh, look at this. Cool. So, save those instructions right there. There are the motors. Beautiful Cobra 2204 2300s. My favorite motors, personally. So, now we've got these arms, and I do not think there's a front or a back. I think that they are both identical, and they are. So, we just want to face them this way, away from each other. Okay? These little 3-hole connectors are what are going to pop right up in the bottom here, as you can see. Got 2 in the back, 2 in the front. So let's go ahead and grab our front arms. These are literally going to pop right on there like that. It slides right in like a glove. Before I put the back ones on, let's go ahead and finish assembling this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can see we've got 4 spots for screws. Go ahead and tighten these on here. I always like to tighten one side at a time and then move across. That way it's not pulling too hard on one side or another. Alright, let's go ahead and just make sure those are nice and snug, so they're not going anywhere. But don't over tighten them. So that feels pretty good. Next, you're going to take this plastic piece that's specially molded. You can see those indents line up with these, and that's just going to basically stop this from shorting out on anything. It's going to protect this nicely and just cover it all real nice. So pop that right on. And that is clean looking. Then last but not least, you're going to pop this screw right in here. You're going to tighten this. Don't over tighten it, but make it snug. And that's it. So that's the front. Next we're going to do the same thing on the back. Remember to put the arms facing towards the back this way. Line those up. Pop that right into place there. So that's good. Once again, we've got our 4 screws. Now let's tighten those up. These screws already have Loctite on them. It's right there in the threads, so you don't even have to apply Loctite. That Loctite that is on there is making these screws a little bit tougher to turn, but you can just tell that you're getting a nice snug fit, which is really good. It is blue Loctite, so it will be removable. These arms will not be stuck on here. You'll be able to take this thing apart to transport it if you want to pretty easily. Alright, so remember, don't over tighten these, but make sure they're snug. Okay, so we got those on there. And then last but not least, remember to line those up, those indents. Go ahead and pop that little tab in there and that one there. And this is literally our last screw. It's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to put together here. It's basically 8 screws plus the 2 screws that hold the front cover on. Alright, so there she is. All assembled, ready to go. All it needs now are battery straps. Pop this antenna, this Triumph on the back. We're going to mount our props. We're going to plug this into Clean Flight. Make sure everything's running good, and then we're going to take it out for a test flight. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this Triumph on the back, our video transmitter antenna. It's going to fit right on the back here. Shouldn't need an adapter or anything. It's all set, ready to go. Okay, it's nice and snug. Just curve that up, looks good. Now, our last step, as you can see here, step 3, installing the props. Northeast and southwest spin counterclockwise, northwest and southeast spin clockwise. So basically, the way I'm going to show you how to do this, everybody, you want props in the front rotating towards the center, like this. Props in the back, once again, rotating towards the center in the back. So that means you're going to want a clockwise prop on the front left. You're going to want the other clockwise prop on the back right. Counterclockwise on the front right. Counterclockwise on the back left. As you can see, those all spin towards the center. Towards the center. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of work these down on there by holding the motor firmly at the base, rotating these props just until they slide into place. And that one slid down nicely. Now the threading on these motors is all standard clockwise. So while installing the props, you can rotate them all clockwise. There we go. Once those teeth catch it, slides down nicely. And our last one here. Okay. Props are on. We have 4 of these included. Many of you are probably familiar with these little bags. They come with all Cobra motors. I'm going to just go ahead and open these guys up. Looks like we've got some extra motor mounting screws in here in case you need to replace a motor or whatnot. But what we need this guy. Goes right on here. And then your lock nut is the last piece that goes right on the top. I'm not going to be able to get those tight enough by hand, but we're just going to go ahead and put them on there the way they are. And then we're going to come back and we're going to tighten them up nicely with our prop tool. All right. Let's go ahead and grab our prop tool, put some final turns on this. Just until it's snug. You can find this prop tool. It's called the RTM8. It's made by DYS. You can find it at QuadQuestions.com. It's a great little tool to have. Very, very handy. Makes tightening these motor nuts much easier. Okay. Folks, there she is. The Vendetta. Ready to fly. All we need to do is plug it into CleanPlate, make sure our channels are all assigned correctly. Alright, so here we have our completed TBS Vendetta. We're going to try to fit some different battery sizes on here to see what works. So let's open up our battery straps here. This is a Tattoo 4S 1375C. Looks like this thing will fit on there no problem. Remember, the XT60's in the middle of this thing, so you want to mount your batteries this way. Just kind of tuck that out of the way. I sometimes pop that in there. So that's definitely going to fit nicely, and you have room to maneuver it back and forth. So we know that works. This is a 4S 1875C, and it looks like this is actually going to fit quite well too, which is pretty awesome. It's trim flush right there with the very end. So that's nice that it fits both the 1300 and the 1800. I would say you could obviously also use a Tattoo 1550 45C if you wanted to go that route. I've also got some other batteries here. Here's a Lumineer 4S 1800. It's a little bit thicker than the Tattoo 1800, but I think it'll also fit no problem. And it does. This is nice. So we've got a lot of options. A lot of different batteries will fit on this thing. Okay, so that larger battery, it's going to give you a little bit longer flight time. You may need to counterbalance it with that HDMI camera. It may be fine without, but obviously larger batteries going to give you a little bit more flight time. Smaller batteries, you're going to be a little bit more maneuverable, but a little bit less flight time. But you do have options with the Vendetta. Let's just tighten this strap, tighten this other strap, just so we can see what it looks like all put together. That XT60 goes right down in there, keeping it nice and away from the props so they don't get chopped up or caught. And there she is. Looks nice. It's a little back heavy with that big fat battery, so you could either scoot it forward, nudge it a little bit. I think it would actually be fine flying like that. That's really not bad. The 1300 would obviously be a little bit more balanced. But also, keep in mind, you're going to add your FPV camera here on the front. That's what this battery strap here is for. The big strap runs underneath here, like so, through here, and then you've got two different mounts, two different angles. Obviously, this is the more aggressive angle for you crazy sport flyers that race, multi-GP guys. You want it almost pointing straight up, right? This is for a little bit of a shallower fit. For the less aggressive flyer or a beginner. So you'll want to put one of these right on there. Obviously you mount your camera there, put your strap around there and tighten that all up, and that can help counterbalance some of that weight of the larger battery in the back. So let's fit it up and go take it outside and take it for a test spin. This will be awesome. Ready? Let's go. Check out QuadQuestions.com. Check out our website, our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel. Quad Questions.